perfectly. We grow step by step. We let the pain go. In this space we heal. You know it's all about the journey, not the show. Living imperfectly, it's true. We rise on our struggles, break through. Together we'll find something brand new. 'Cause living imperfect is what we do.
Welcome to Imperfect TV, where we embrace the messy, the real, and the beautifully unfinished. I'm Gemma Blythe, and this is your Monday morning guided journaling session, your space to breathe, reset, and begin the week with intention. Mondays can feel overwhelming, but they also hold a quiet power, a fresh start, a chance to realign with what truly matters. So, before the emails, the to-do lists, and the noise of the day take over, let's pause together. Take a deep breath in and out. Let's start this morning by checking in with ourselves. You don't have to get it perfect, just honest. Let your thoughts flow without judgment. This is your time, your space, your moment to be fully present with yourself. So grab your journal, settle in, and let's write. I'll be here with you, guiding you along the way. Because growth isn't about perfection, it's about showing up, even on the messy Mondays. Hello everybody, good morning, how are you doing? Please let me know down in the comments. This is your Monday morning journaling session. We are working with a lot of the triggers this morning. So I just wanted to put that in as a little bit of a disclaimer. We're working to unlock our minds and be able to journal in a way that is most beneficial to us. So how do we do that? It's called trigger working. So that may be a pun that I've worked on myself, but hey ho, we'll go with it. Because working with triggers can be quite a serious and quite sometimes an awkward thing to do. So that's what we're going to tackle this morning. And hopefully it's going to help us and it's going to help the people around us to be able to understand what we're going through sometimes, because we all know how difficult it is to be able to put what we feel sometimes into words and into actual ordinary day speak. So that's what we're working with. So, as usual, I have 4 prompts for you this morning, which we will be working through together in a non-judgmental, free space. And then after you've gone away, worked on the prompts a bit, we'll come back together for a reflection and where you can jot down some more thoughts if any occur. Also, the comments are available for you to use during this session. Please, please, please use the comments because this is your space. So feel free to do that. And let's get started. So if you've been here for a while, you know how we start these. We go into a deep breathing session first. So I want you to take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And just do that a series of times while this video plays, just to get settled and grounded for today's session. Here we go. Okay, so the first question, which I am going to just pop up on the screen now, gets you to think about the common triggers that bring up memories or feelings related to your trauma. So this could be anything from the environments that you're in, the people that surround you, the different situations you may even find yourself in, and the sensations as well that can also take you back to reliving some of that trauma and giving you similar feelings. So I want you to look at those 3 different environments and 3 different things that can sometimes trigger you into reliving certain sensations. This can be tricky to do, so I want you to take your time and just think back and just reflect. A lot of journaling is reflection, and reflection can help because it helps us move forward. Everything to do with journaling on these Mondays is about moving forward. So, as you go ahead, think about the people that surround you, the environments that you're in, and the different sensations that tend to trigger memories. Okay, so off you go. Okay, how did you find that? It can be a little bit daunting to reflect back onto those things, but as I've already said, it can help you so much to be able to identify what triggers you and then make a plan to move forward. And that's exactly what we're doing this morning. We're identifying, planning, and moving forward. So, with that in mind, so you went and thought about the people, environments, and sensations that you experience sometimes that make you feel like you're back in that situation again. However, as an addition to that, it may also help you to think about the specific sounds. Maybe a piece of music takes you back into that space, or maybe smells, places, even phrases that may even set off a strong triggered reaction within you. So those are things that may help if you list down in your journal and then just make notes at the side of those. That can sometimes help, because then as you reflect back within your journal, as I encourage everybody to do, by the way, if you have a stack of journals, use them, read back through, read what you've already written but years ago, so then you can reconnect the dots again. so then you can actually see how far you've come. Because a lot of people during recovery and everything else think, well, how do I track my progress? There's no way that I can. There is if you journal. Then you can track your progress. It's no good just having a journal there and just writing in it. You need to read what you've written to then be able to track that graph, if you like. We want to be going like this, not like that. Okay? So think about the sounds, smells, places, or phrases that can set off a strong reaction in you. And also, then think about the triggers that are typically more intense and can have a stronger reaction. It's not something that you can control. It's something that you can manage. And over time, if you manage it, they're still going to be there, but they're not going to be as massive. Okay? They're not going to seem like this huge pothole that's in the way of your day. They're going to feel like something that you can build a bridge and cross it. Okay? And then think about how they make you feel both physically and emotionally. I mean, I can guess which one you think about because not many of us think about how triggers can affect us physically. A lot of us think about how triggers can affect us emotionally. Because initially they trigger an emotional response within us, right? So when we start thinking about how they affect us physically, they may make us feel sick, they may make us feel anxious, panicky, stressed, overwhelmed, scared. They're all there. But the more you start thinking about the physical symptoms as well, the more sometimes you can figure out whether there's a brain-gut connection going on. And I do need to make a video about that, the brain-gut connection. That is something that's coming onto Imperfect TV because that is so important. Okay, so moving on to the next one. I'll just get the next prompt up. Okay, so second prompt for today. How do you typically respond when you're triggered by something related to your trauma? So, as I've already explained to you, sometimes there's symptoms that go on, sometimes triggers manifest within your body, both physically and emotionally. Now, this gets you to think about what actually happens when you are triggered. Do you freeze? Do you get overwhelmed with anxiety? Do you feel fear, anger, sadness? Or do you just try and avoid the situation completely? Okay, those are some things that I want you to think about while you do the initial part of the journaling to this prompt. So think if you freeze, experience overwhelm, anxiety, feel anger or sadness, or try and avoid the situation altogether. Okay, so let's go and journal on that. Okay. So, how did you find that? Sometimes it's difficult to get to the root of how you typically respond when you're triggered by something related to your trauma. So, sometimes it takes us a few minutes to get back into that space of analyzing ourselves and the ways that we react to things, because some things we just do and it seems like we're on autopilot. We're just reacting to it in the moment. We're just there in the situation and there's nothing that we can do about it. However, this is about taking back our freedom from our own triggers. So, this gets us to think about how we respond and lets us take back some of that control that we may have lost from what happened to us. So, let's think then. So, some of the things that you may experience are freezing, overwhelm, anxiety, anger, sadness, or you try and avoid the situation altogether, or a situation that may arise in a similar environment. We've all been there when we've been through trauma, but it's about recognizing why we do that. So, let's think back. So, an example of that would be if you try to avoid your hometown because that's where something happened to you, or you may try and avoid the area in which something happened to you in, or you may try and, if it happened in a house, you may try and avoid the rooms it happened to you in because of the memories that can occur. There's different spaces and times in which you can avoid things without even realizing. So, in addition to those things, you may feel physical symptoms like tension. Tension is a massive one. So, you may feel tension in your jaw, or your shoulders may rise without you even thinking about it, which can cause problems in the long run. So it's all about recognizing how your body feels as well and not getting comfortable with that. That's the awful thing, because sometimes triggers allow you to feel comfortable with being in that flight or fright mode, and nobody should be comfortable there because that's a horrendous place to be. So the more you relax and the more you notice when your triggers are occurring, the more you can do things about it. So sometimes your heart may race as well because you might start to panic if you're in a similar situation or environment. And you may experience disassociation where you just blank out for no reason. And when I say blank out, I don't mean like blackout, fall to the floor kind of thing. I mean, you disassociate, you just lose focus without even realizing. How many times has somebody started a conversation around you and you haven't been able to follow it? even more so if it's surrounding trauma and what happens to you in that moment. How many times have you experienced that? I know I have, but that could be down to ADHD. So it's all about realizing how you react at certain times. So write about your immediate response and then write how you navigate those intense moments in the heat of the trigger. Because it may be avoidance. It may be just that you avoid anything to do with that environment, that space. Or it may be that you avoid the people that surrounded you at that time. Not because it's their fault, it's the fault of the perpetrator. It's the fault of the person that did whatever they did towards you. So it's worth coming back to this one to dig deeper and to be able to analyze your responses in such a way in which you know how you react to the very last letter when you are triggered. So when you are triggered, and this brings us on to the next prompt very nicely. What coping strategies have you used in the past to be able to manage triggers, and how effective have they been? We all know that there's different coping mechanisms. We hear about them in self-help books and watch them a lot of the time on TV and things like that. But what a lot of people don't realize is that all of these coping mechanisms don't work for everybody. I'm not saying that if you get up at 5 a.m. the next morning, all your problems are going to be solved. No, because a lot of the people don't relate and don't want to get up at 5 a.m. in the morning. There are so many different things that you can put into practice other than keeping to a routine which doesn't suit you. You need a routine in life which suits you, doesn't put you under any pressure, because if it puts you under pressure, it's not a coping mechanism. So, whether you've used deep breathing, some people find that helps, seeking comfort from others, any other coping mechanisms that you've used, write down how they've worked for you. Okay? And we're just you can write down some of the negative coping mechanisms here, like overspending, reaching for other things which help numb the pain and help numb memories. So you can write about those as well. I'm not saying you can't, but ultimately we're looking for the ones that help you the most. So again, I'm going to give you just under 2 minutes to journal on this one, and then we'll come back together and I'll share some more reflections on that. So, as we talk about different coping mechanisms, there's so many in which can be so helpful, while others can be, let's say, not so helpful. For example, I wouldn't recommend any. I mean, there's been times when I've avoided alcohol when I've been down and depressed because I didn't want to start looking at it as a coping mechanism. There's been times when I've just cut out certain things which I know could be unhealthy coping mechanisms. That's why therapy was so important for me, because I just didn't want to be dragged into the unhealthy coping mechanism stage ever again. So when you're looking at healthy coping mechanisms, of course, you've got deep breathing, you've got meditation, you can ice plunge if you want, but please do that properly. Like, don't catch hypothermia. Then you can talk to the people around you. Find your support circle and use them to the best of their knowledge, to the best of their ability. Just say that you need them to listen. Because if they truly care about you, they will sit there while you rant and rave and get whatever you want to off your chest. So use your support circle. Therapy can be a good one. I've already mentioned that. Counseling can be so useful. Counseling and therapy in conjunction with a life coach can be super beneficial, because then I know I've worked with other life coaches that have talked to therapists, and they've actually helped their clients be able to put into practice a routine which was able to be set in stone by their therapist as well. So you can absolutely get the best of both worlds. All of these things are there for you at little to no cost as well. And a lot of people don't realize that. So, as we head into the next prompt, a lot of this is working out and evaluating which coping mechanisms you've got now which are helpful to you. So, I would put one next door to the ones that are really useful and you would use again, and make sure that they are helpful to your recovery. Then I would put a 5 next door to the ones that are not useful and you wouldn't use again in your recovery, because either they're detrimental to your recovery or they make you feel worse about yourself. Those are coping mechanisms you absolutely do not need. Throw them in the bin, basically. So, once you've done all that, you should then be able to identify the coping mechanisms with a 1 at the side, and be able to put them into practice in the next prompt, which I am just going to grab for you now and put up on the screen. Here we go. No, that's number 3. I don't want number 3 again. I want number 4. See, you get all this on Imperfect TV. How wonderful. Me getting confused with journaling prompts. Just what your Monday morning needs. So, what new or healthier ways can you explore to handle triggers when they arise? So, the first thing that you should do is identify the ones that you've already found useful from the previous prompt and write those down. And then I'm now going to give you some more, which you could add to that list to just give it a try and see how you get on. A lot of recovery from trauma is trial and error. And the only way that we find out if something works within our routine or within ourselves is to give it a try first. So, a lot of the things that you can do are gentle and they are empowering to you. So, they are grounding techniques, mindfulness practices, self-soothing rituals, or talking to a therapist or somebody within your support circle. So, mindfulness practices is anything from deep breathing to yoga to walking to taking note of the five senses and the five things that you hear, touch, smell, all that kind of stuff. And also just taking notice of the little things, and practicing gratitude can come under that as well. Then you've got your grounding techniques. Now, this can range from anything from walking barefoot on the ground, or carrying a stone or keys within your pocket that you can touch when you're walking or in a situation which may take you back to that traumatic experience. So the more you have something with you and can feel something around you that's material and brings you comfort, the easier it is to be able to deal with those triggers when we're out and about in everyday life. And then you've got self-soothing rituals. So this takes me back to the different affirmations. So I am, and then a positive adjective after it. So what you want to do here is look at everything that people have said that's negative towards you, flip the negatives into a positive. Because in every negative situation, there is at least one positive that you can get out of it and you can glean from it. Okay? So think about all that when you journal down, and maybe you want to put a column in your journal saying new practices, underline it, and then write a list of new things that you would like to try. So again, I'm going to give you just under 2 minutes to go away and work on all that and come back. Okay. Okay. So, which coping mechanisms did you come up with in that moment? Are there any new ones that you want to try? So now you've got some coping mechanisms and some grasp of what's healthy for you during coping with triggers. Now is the time to put in a plan of when you are triggered, how are you going to deal with that situation using your coping mechanisms that you've just listed down. So it may be to plan to take yourself out of that situation. It may be a plan to grasp whatever you've got in your pocket, whether that be stones, keys, whatever, to help you feel like you are safe in that moment and you're not back there. It may be to repeat and to look at your affirmations daily. So put them in a place where you can see them, either in your workspace, by your bed, maybe even in your kitchen somewhere on your fridge. Or it may even be to talk to the people that you have around you. If you're in a space in which you are out and you feel unsafe, that's what you need to be planning for, because when we are in our own spaces, we typically feel safer anyway, especially if we've got coping mechanisms around us that we can turn to. But when you are out and about in unfamiliar situations, that's when a lot of these can occur without you even realizing. So it may be that you get yourself into a safe shop or somewhere that you feel safe when you're out and about, whether that's around books, in my case it was, or a music shop, or clothes, or whatever it is, just something that brings you comfort. That is what a coping mechanism should be. Something which allows you in that moment to feel as though you are safe. Because when a traumatic situation occurs, it's the reverse of that, right? It makes you feel so unsafe. It makes you feel violated. It makes you feel as though you are about 2 feet tall. When you've got that coping mechanism, it's about your personal growth and the fact that you are allowed to reclaim your space back. It's about feeling empowered. It's about going from 2 feet tall to feeling as though you are 10 feet tall, because of the things that you've got at your disposal. And everybody should feel entitled to this, because everybody deserves to have their own sacred space. So then look at what you can do in that moment to make you realize that you are safe. Whether that's repeating in your head, I am safe, I know I am safe, because that is like what? It's like using an affirmation in that time. It's using something which helps you to realize and reconnect that you are as safe as you can be. Okay. So we've gone over the common triggers in today's session that you experience either physically or emotionally. We've gone over how you respond to when you're triggered by something. We've looked at unhealthy habits and healthy coping mechanisms that we can put into practice to help overcome triggering situations or memories. And then we've worked out a plan in which we know what we can do when we feel unsafe at any point. So I hope this session today has been really useful for you. And I look forward to you joining me here again next Monday morning when we'll be looking at relationships and the patterns that we get ourselves into after experiencing trauma without even realizing. So join me here next Monday. You can catch me live over on my other channel on NATV on this Friday. So make sure you join me there, where I'll be talking all things stress and control. So make sure you're tuned in for that, and a follow-up video which I'll put up over here again on the weekend. So I look forward to you joining me on all those things. Lots of exciting things coming. So stay tuned.